This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, where each week we take a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome of wrestling video games. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I am George Feis, and today is a very, very special episode of the Game Marks podcast because today we are doing GMP, What If? And we also discuss some bad video game etiquette.
And please subscribe and leave a 5-star review for this podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow on all forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. And don't forget, you can get this episode early and ad-free at patreon.com/GameMarksPod. George boy, you ready for some what if?
Yeah, man, this is gonna be a fun one.
I'm ready. I think this is a pretty cool concept. We got some questions that we've been jotting down. We got some questions from our Discord, and we're just gonna think, what if certain things happen in wrestling games? So there's a lot to kind of cover here. But let's talk about last week's game, Elite GM, AEW's, I guess, technical second video game.
We skipped a couple.
It's a mobile game. It's out there. And it's no longer a game, but if you have it still installed on your phone, you can still do some things. So how are you feeling a week later?
I feel the same. The game itself is great, incredibly polished, a lot going for it. Just my opinion, Elite or just GM games, not really my cup of tea. But the game itself is great. How about you?
The only difference is like the GM mode in the new 2K games, I actually want to play. And when I'm not playing them, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of in the mood to play that. Not even old SmackDown vs. Raw ones. Those are just too much going on. Like the new ones, I think you could just dive in and play a few, and it's actually fun. Yeah. Where Elite GM, since downloading it, I don't think I ever thought I want to go play that again.
You played it in the beginning when it first came out because there was the
it was a new game.
It was a new game, and it was the first real wrestling based AEW game. And we talked about it last week. A lot of our friends, people that we know, friends of the podcast, are in there. It was an all around awesome experience, but maybe just didn't have the staying power that they had hoped for. What have you been playing? Same old. Still going back and playing GTA 5 through that whole campaign.
Absolutely. Currently playing as Trevor, so that's how far I've gotten in such a short time because I can't stop playing it. I'm also almost done with my be a pro career in NHL.
Oh, okay.
I've never made it past. Honestly, last year's game was the first time I ever made it to the end of a season because it just takes so long. You don't have to play all the games, but I like playing. I like being in control of my pro.
Yeah.
So this year I'm actually probably going to go past the season because I have vowed for the first time since I think NHL 08 to not buy this year's game.
Wow.
There's only going to be a roster update. I have my team's new arena.
Yep.
What am I missing? It's the same team. We haven't signed anyone. So.
And it's not like there's any big polishing or quality of life update.
It's going to go free eventually on Game Pass anyway in a couple months. So
yeah,
I might as well keep playing, be a pro, see how far I can get, be playing online, and
if I told you the new one. The last NHL game that I played, you would probably laugh.
I'm going to guess 12.
Let's see.
Yeah.
We see which one. Wait, what did you say it was?
12?
How?
Everyone had 12.
I literally had to.
Brodeur?
No, it's Steve Stamkos. I was just like
Stamkos. He says.
I was just like, how? How did you know? I literally just Googled NHL Stamkos cover.
Was that the first one on Next Gen? No, it wasn't.
No.
I don't know. That one just always sticks out. I feel like that's the one where they finally like changed a lot of the controls and stuff, and it became what it is today. So
I can't believe you just pulled that out of your ass. I'm genuinely impressed.
Hey, you know, it is what it is.
We're not doing a deep dive here necessarily, but John, are you ready to ask some really weird wrestling video game questions? Are you ready to ask what if? All right, so we are coming out swinging here.
What if Ultron won? Oh, wrong show.
Wrong show. No. This is GMP. What if, not Marvel? What if? Coming out strong here. This what if the Xbox 360 continued to put out different games?
With a little sidebar here, would Studio Gigante have been given an opportunity to create another game after WrestleMania 21, which was a huge flop? So, this is tough because Xbox was always the odd man out here with Crush Hour, with SmackDown vs. Raw. I mean, GameCube had their own series also, but those were successful. 18 was a little bit of a struggle because first one on next gen, you didn't really know what you were getting at the time. But man, I don't know. Xbox always, like, Raw had such hype because it was the first. It looked good in like the magazines and the trailers, but playing it, there was nothing to it at all.
I don't know. I don't know if is it just that at the time there's so much focus on like Call of Duty and Halo, and like those are the big things that people are focusing on on the 360, and it's not so much like people are going for wrestling. And then, you know, maybe on the flip side, it's just like, well, PlayStation is a lot of different successful wrestling games that have, you know, gone down as some of the greatest ones of all time that are, you know, exclusive to PlayStation. Does that reputation kind of tarnish Xbox in the sense of like maybe that's not the target audience?
I don't think it's even that. I think they were trying to cover all the board here. They were cover the whole board. They wanted the GameCube games, which you couldn't really port the SmackDown vs. Raw series to those small discs. You just couldn't. And then Xbox would have been something else, which it was. And then you had your SmackDown vs. Raws, which evolved from the SmackDown series. And yes, it did.
Man, what? Sorry. So
the first game on 360 is SmackDown vs. Raw 2007. I can't imagine, as a 360 user at the time, which I was, not having that game. That's where you get the dilemma where there's such tight competition between 360 and PS3. You have one or the other, and you're playing either one exclusive or the other. They're on the same level. It's not like Xbox and PS2, where I think PS2 was a bit ahead. Xbox was a new console and everything. You couldn't have that competition between consoles and not have the same games on them.
What's the last wrestling game on the 360?
2K14, I think.
No, I think it's 17.
Well, even that, like, just think of the longevity that the 360 had. Could you imagine WrestleMania 22, WrestleMania 23? Like, would it be Studio Gigante? Would it be THQ? Would they try something different? What else could you try, though? That's the thing.
That's what's going to be my next question. So fantasy book me. And the easy answer is like, well, obviously it would be 2K18 would have been on 360. But what you know, you're coming up with something that is original to the Xbox. Do you roll the dice and go, okay, I want to be on the 2K engine, but I want to do Raw 3?
Oh man, no one wanted Raw 3. Well, they would have. What about WrestleMania 21? That was technically Raw 3, but not.
But I'm
They
saying
gave
like
up
you
on the
could
Raw
full
series.
on title Raw 3. You bring it back. You do it, years
Have
later.
Raw on one, SmackDown on the other. And then the WrestleMania is on the GameCube. That's where it was also confusing. Like you
There's
at
the
WrestleMania
division.
18, you had WrestleMania 19, then you went to Day of Reckoning, but
Yeah.
WrestleMania 21 continued on Xbox. So I think they eventually just had to say, okay, we're going with one series, one developer, and we're putting it all out there.
Man.
It's hard to fantasy book because there's what SmackDown worked. The whole Xbox series did not work.
Yeah, and there's also at this point, towards the end of the life of the 360, there's the logic of you're getting the yearly releases of 16, 17, 18. So, like, yeah, what's the next game that would come out on the 360? It would be 2K18 because it was the next game that came out.
Yeah. I don't know. So I would hope if they continued putting out games, they would get better. I don't know if Studio Gigante would be the way to go. Maybe they would just be THQ, but on Xbox, and it would just be something different. I don't know what they could do different, though.
Yeah, that's coming out swinging here with a heavy hitter
Yeah.
immediately. That's a tough one to answer, and it's a good debate question. But I think that the logic dictates that you just follow the next sequence. You go from 17 to 18.
Well, to 22.
What?
You would go to WrestleMania 22.
Oh yeah.
360 started in 2007.
No, but I'm saying for the last game,
Where
like
it would
what happens next? Yeah.
Yeah, and then what happens when you get to Xbox One?
Yeah.
Oh my God. These are all the what ifs. All right, but next one. What if 2K never took over WWE games? Now,
Ooh.
they stopped the SmackDown vs. Raw series in 2011. It went to WWE 12, WWE 13, and then 2K14 was the first. It was a very similar game, but the series was co-developed with Visual Concepts until Yuke's departure in 2018. So also, what if Yuke's never left?
Man, that's
maybe 2K20 wouldn't have been such a disaster. We would have gotten a 2K21 in that case. But what if 2K never even took over to begin with? THQ never went under. Would we have? We would have had WWE 14, WWE 15.
Well, I was going to say, does SmackDown vs. Raw continue?
Well, it didn't. They changed to 12 under THQ.
Oh yeah, that's true.
They changed to 12 and 13. So would they just continue with the yearly number, which I like? I mean, it puts it right up there with the sports games.
I was going to say, it fits right into that, the NHL, the Maddens.
Yeah, like it's kind of weird UFC's coming out with like UFC 5. Like,
well, are they doing UFC EA again? Like they're branding it as UFC or EA UFC games again?
Are you thinking of EAFC?
Or no? Are they doing another EA MMA game? Is that what I'm confusing?
EA makes the UFC games.
No, but wasn't there?
There was an EA MMA back in the day.
Yeah, I feel like I heard something that they're doing something branding wise to be EA MMA again.
Let's see. UFC 5 has been officially announced. I don't think there's much on it yet.
No,
but 4 was an awesome game, and
I feel like I heard something that they were doing something like branding it as MMA again, but I may be getting my wires crossed here.
It's just going to be UFC 5. And the full reveal is coming in September. So that should be cool. But again, another series that THQ couldn't keep.
But I think that this logic is very similar. It's just like, do you reinvent the wheel? Do you change something? What game mechanics change, add, get removed?
I think
if you
the
continue
only thing,
just as the WWE series.
I think the only thing we wouldn't get is like Battlegrounds.
Yeah, you don't get Battlegrounds, and maybe.
Or did 2K make Supercard? They might, because they give out the code. Cat Daddy. It's publisher 2K Games.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things that we wouldn't get. What would the mobile games be? Would it be the stupid what's it called? Mobile Madness things? Would it be what?
We get more Apocalypse.
I think the games are very similar. Like they did progress from the SmackDown games. Obviously the engines just kept being built on from Uke. So I don't think the games would have been that far off. from what we got today.
Huh.
But it's also hard to say because the last wrestling game THQ Nordique made is AEW Fight Forever, which is very different.
Oh yeah, very, very different. All right.
But yeah, that's
another
what
interesting.
If? What if?
But now this next one is a true fantasy book here. If 2K21 came out, who's on the cover?
First of all, what an awkward game that would be because it would be all Thunderdome.
Honestly, you know who I put on the cover?
I'd put Drew.
I was just going to say Drew McIntyre.
That was his year. Unfortunately, that was his year. He never really recovered from that.
I'd say you put Drew on, or maybe you continue the dual cover of the two big stars, and maybe you do like Rhea and Drew or Charlotte and Drew. Like I'm trying to think of that year's Mania.
Yeah, would you put Roman again?
You could. It was Roman and Becky, and then maybe you keep that series going, and you do Charlotte's champ going into Mania. Obviously, Rhea wins that year.
So this is what, WrestleMania 36?
You put Strowman on the cover?
Oh, no one wants that.
I was just saying. I'm thinking about like who's the heir. Like
it's tough. So much happened this year. Is it Brock again? Is it The Fiend? Is it Edge? Edge returned? Maybe you put Edge in like Natty or something?
Lashley?
I don't know. I mean, Roman significantly changed since his cover on 2020. Do you just keep going with him?
It's a very different look. It's true. Man.
A lot of what ifs here. A lot of what ifs. Who would be the showcase mode?
Ooh.
Would there even be? There was what was 20, the Women's Evolution?
Yep.
And then Ray Roman. And then Cena. So maybe Roman. Like no. Maybe give me AJ Styles. Give me the old TNA match. It's never going to happen, but this is what if, damn it.
Let's see. So
just AJ versus Bobby Roode over and over again.
Night one for Mania this year. You got Lashley, Drew, Natty and Tamina versus Riot Squad, Cesaro and Rollins, AJ.
What a rough WrestleMania.
AJ and Omos defeat the New Day. Braun Strowman versus Shane.
The New Day.
Give me a New Day cover, man.
Give me the full New Day cover, even though you ruined that in this year's game. Remember, you ruined their cover shoot, and
that's true. You do that.
You do. That's it. That's my answer. I want a New Day cover.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Or give me KO and Sammy.
What about this year's? I kind of want a full Judgment Day cover.
Oh, how do you not put Cody on a cover?
Oh, they're definitely doing that.
Like, how do you not put it's Cody?
Oh, he's getting the showcase mode. They're gonna do like him and Ray. There's
no way. There's no way.
They're gonna give him the pec tear and everything.
Give me.
We booked it. Mark this.
Give me him turning on Hardcore Holly to go team with Ted DiBiase.
That's crazy that those two are even in the same sentence.
Yeah. Like that's give me like the whole Cody run through Legacy and
that's what we're getting. That's what we're getting.
Him and Sandow with the mustache and face mask dashing Cody Rhodes like that
some Dusty.
Him and Goldust winning the tag titles from Shield.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I think we know what next year's is going to be.
It's an easy layup. You've got the tenure of Cody in WWE to pick from. It's not like he doesn't have a history in that company.
Crazy. All right, next one. This one we're going to answer, and there's going to be a bunch of answers coming up that are all wrapped around this one question. What if No Mercy got a sequel? Now,
we kind of know a little bit.
We all have seen the Backlash cover for N64 with Triple H on it. Apparently, the only footage ever seen of this was in a GamePro magazine from 2001. No one has it. It's wiped from the internet. They're saying it never existed. Then there was the rumor that the game was 30% complete. Also, never happened. Now, what was that game we played? Pro Wrestling X?
Yeah.
The developer has a podcast. He had the guy, I think the guys from AKI on, and they said it never happened. So we have to take their word for it that this game never happened. So all those screenshots, all those rumors you've heard since 2001, this game never existed. This is clearly a made-up cover, and that's that. Someone was really good at Photoshop Elements 2.0 in 2001. So what this game became was Def Jam Vendetta. It's the same engine.
Yep.
It just turned into that on the next-gen console. So that's really what we would have gotten. WrestleMania 18 and 19 had those vibes to it, but not the same engine. It was just kind of similar vibes. What wrestling game would have been in place of Def Jam Vendetta if No Mercy got a sequel?
It was a working title, Backlash.
I guess so, right?
So we'll say the working title was still Backlash. Book me a cover. So you've got World Tour, which is Hogan Giant. You've got Revenge, which is Hogan, Goldberg, Nash, and Raven. You've got WrestleMania 2000, where you've got Big Show, Mankind, Rock, Triple H, and The Undertaker. And then you've got No Mercy, which is Edge, Triple H, and The Rock.
So here's one big thing debunking this off the bat. Triple H wasn't around in 2001. This is when he tore his quad. In May, he tore his quad, and we didn't see him again until 2002. So he missed the whole Invasion and everything. Now, when Raw came out on Xbox, I remember thinking like, oh, this takes place like right after Invasion happened because it's the same music as some of the guys, same characters. So maybe this Triple H wouldn't be on the cover. He's not even there. You have to put Stone Cold on this cover.
So wait,
or Kurt Angle.
Let's play it this way.
Wait. Are you going to say? I don't know if you're going to say what I'm going to say. This could have been the dream game. This could have been WWF versus WCW. Versus ECW.
So you could have. So I pulled up all the pay-per-view schedule from 2001.
Invasion.
So you've got
Insurrection.
You've got the Rumble, No Way Out, WrestleMania 17, Backlash, Insurrection, Judgment Day, which hindsight, you've got the Judgment Day now. It's based off the series. It's kind of cool. King of the Ring, Invasion, SummerSlam, Unforgiven, No Mercy, Rebellion, Survivor Series, and Vengeance. So, of the ones who have not had games, No Way Out doesn't have a game. Backlash doesn't have a game. Insurrection, Judgment Day, Invasion, Unforgiven, Rebellion, and Vengeance.
Okay, so I'm booking this as Invasion.
Which I think...
I'm putting Vince and Shane on the cover with that signature Invasion split screen.
Yep.
With Rob Van Dam on one side, Kurt Angle, Stone Cold, and Gimme Booker T.
Do we go crazy? And do we have a 3-split McMahon face? And you also include ECW with Steph?
What would she get, the mouth?
No, but you know what I mean. You split it so that it's all three.
Yeah,
and you include the Dudley ECW. Boys. You get one representative from each brand, and that's what's like the championship mode plays out through that the Invasion storyline.
This is what we would get. So wait, so there was no game that happened during this
2001?
But no game like covers this.
No, there's nothing that covers the
Invasion. So it would have to be just fully.
Yeah.
So you get the wrestlers in here.
You just would need
it's over.
Yeah.
I think the Invasion was way shorter than we think it was at the time. But
it was very
2001 short. Is synonymous with the Invasion.
But I remember just being like, like everyone else was just like enthralled of like what the possibilities were. And then as an adult later on, you learn about all like the crazy contract stuff that was going on. But like
no Sting, no Goldberg, no Kevin Nash, which would have made it so much better. Let's bleed this into the next what if. What if ECW was on the AKI engine, or what if there was just a third game in general?
If they're on that, man, if they're on that same AKI engine,
So
that's like backyard wrestling and No Mercy in the same game.
that's No Mercy if you put on all of the Game Shark codes.
That's
that
all of
we
our
use.
stupid Game Shark codes that we did, and you
Those
get a
stupid flames and stuff.
But in my head, I'm imagining it as like backyard wrestling on the AKI engine.
That sounds terrible.
But I'm saying like those, like you get those arenas, like those settings to have those matches where like there's weapons all over the place. There's a ton of interactive, like environmental hazards that you can Irish whip your opponent into and stuff like that. But all of this is taking place in like, it's essentially just like, what if the ECW THQ game would just be the entire game is the backstage of No Mercy.
So
But
it's
far more
backstage
expensive,
assault.
but better.
I don't know. I would just like to see what like the Elks Lodge looked like in No Mercy style.
That's a cool idea.
But now, all right. Now, what if there was a third game by Acclaim? Where would they have gone with it? I mean, would it be something like Legends of Wrestling, which wasn't that good? You would have to add the more like blood and guts to it.
You'd have to do a lot more production wise. The character models would be better. That's a plus.
There's not much more you could have added to Anarchy Rules, to be honest.
No, that's a man.
All right, so forget about that because I don't think that would have been a huge flop.
Yeah,
What
I don't know if you
Rockstar had gotten the ECW license over Acclaim? Would that just be state of emergency? Like people just running all over with chairs and stuff?
I think you get something that's more akin to Def Jam then. I think you get ECW Def Jam.
So we all know Grand Theft Auto. I just mentioned state of emergency, like Red Dead Redemption. What else does Rockstar make that is even close to a wrestling game? I don't think there's much. There's Bully, Max Payne, LA Noire, Midnight Club, table tennis. What is this game? The Warriors.
Warriors is based on the movie The Warriors.
But I'm looking at screenshots. That could be what a wrestling game would have looked like.
That would be interesting. I think you're getting a different presentation graphically. I think you are getting something that is more in line with a GTA or Red Dead Redemption, things like that. But
It would have a sick story mode.
It would have awesome physics.
Yeah.
Rockstar gets a good physics engine for all their games, so that's 100% what you would have there too.
All right, so now we're going to bleed this into the next question. What if Mayhem 2 came out? So this game was rumored to have been developed by AKI for the PS2, and it had branching storylines and over 1,000 moves, and it had First Blood, gauntlet matches, and there are actual screenshots that were featured in a magazine. You can find these. They are very tiny if you find them because they were on the old website for AKI and Mayhem or whatever, and they're I think just magazine scans. They're very small. You have to enlarge them, and they're very pixely. Kind of just looks like Backstage Assault with better graphics, and for some reason has Goldberg like with his foot up on a crate. It's looking really weird.
I think that's like him mid climb,
maybe, but he's looking at the camera. So again, this technology just became Def Jam Vendetta. So if WCW never went under, instead of No Mercy 2, this would have been Mayhem 2.
Yeah.
So a lot of what ifs, what ifing each other right now.
So what do you think? Let's do a quick Google search here.
I don't think WCW had the roster in 2001 to make this interesting.
But who's on the cover?
Booker T or Scott Steiner.
I was going to say, can't do Goldberg again.
Goldberg turned heel.
Yeah.
Right before. You could do Hogan again, but
man, Booker. I think Booker's the choice.
I would do Booker, Scott Steiner, Jeff Jarrett, and Bret Hart. Give me some NWO 2000. It would not be. It would be a good game, but it would be a terrible roster.
I was going to say it would be a game that is known for the great mechanics and the engine. It would need to have a phenomenal creative suite.
Like you think of the Backstage Assault roster, but then you're going even further than that.
Yeah.
And it's not good at the end.
I think potential for Mayhem 2 lies mainly within the like the core basis of the game. Like that's on paper sounds great, but I very much agree with you. The roster would be good, but it wouldn't have the star power of like a Revenge or, it's the games that came before it.
And it would be going head to head with Just Bring It.
Yeah.
Not good.
It would have quite a trench to climb itself out of, but
when was Raw? Was Raw 2002? I actually have the poster above me, but it doesn't say a date.
I think it's 1.
2002.
Oh.
So this misses it also. Yeah, February of 2002. So close.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. This is one that I had proposed, I believe. What if the AKI THQ series of games continues, but not with WWF? What if it just keeps going with WCW and only WCW? We still get 2 more games, and the inevitable transition over to the GameCube and all that stuff still happens. That timeline still happens, but the WWE license never happens. What's the next game called, or the next 2 games called?
So that means no Mayhem, no Backstage Assault, no Thunder or Nitro, because those are all over the place.
Yeah.
Well, Thunder and Nitro are THQ. No Mayhem, no Backstage Assault. Those are EA. So, man.
What do you...
I mean, this kind of goes back to, like, we're just, instead of the No Mercy sequel, we're now replacing No Mercy with a WCW game. Which essentially is
you have to have a Starcade game, right? Like that has to be.
It could be Starcade. It's just or like just Revenge 2.
Ooh, or you get like you got to do like a NWO Sold Out.
You could do that. What if they did like Pokemon Red and Blue, like WCW and NWO, and then you had to like use them both together?
Oh, the rosters
that would
are
not
the same.
sell well.
No, hear me out. Rosters are the same. Gameplay is the same. 2 different storylines. That's
be cool.
The difference. There's
think of like the No Mercy storylines. If we got Revenge 2 or whatever this is, you're probably getting those branching storylines in that, but with WCW wrestlers. Would you form the NWO?
Give me a Bash at the Beach game.
Bash at the Beach. Put that storyline in there. Who's joining the NWO? There's so many possibilities here.
Bash at the Beach, Sold Out. I'm trying to think of WCW things that haven't had games. So like, want to do Super Brawl. Super
Triple
Brawl
Cage.
already has a game. Great American Bash also could work. What were the last?
War games.
Oh, what was the last one? The last pay per view.
The last WCW pay per view. New Blood Rising.
Is it?
Yeah, I think Big Bang was supposed to be, but it never happened.
Because it shuts down in...
Greed.
Greed. I see Sin, Super Brawl, Revenge, and Greed.
Weird time. Really weird time in WCW. It was just not the same company.
Man, but you could do a Greed game and that poster for Greed with Scott Steiner.
Which one's the one with Booker T's back?
Booker T's back is...
It was weird.
I don't see that. I'm not seeing.
WCW 2000. We've definitely mentioned it here before. And someone is yelling.
Yeah, someone's saying it's
yelling.
This and this year, and we're just...
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Are you sure it's a pay-per-view?
Hold the Gold. Super Brawl 2000. That's what it is. He's hugging the WCW title.
Oh, I see Super Bowl 2000 as Sid.
Put Booker T next to it, and no, I just googled it. Super Bowl 2000. Top ones that come up: Sid, and then the next one's Booker T.
Oh, I see. I'm the one that came up was Sid. All right,
Weird.
that's interesting. But yeah,
second part. Who would have developed the new WWF games after Attitude and Warzone? Which, first of all, they would have sucked if they continued those. But
yeah.
remember, when we go back to the lawsuit episode we had on that article, Activision had their name in the race. So
I'm
wouldn't
going
have
to
been a
say
bad thing.
something, and it's going to be
Tony Hawk running around the wrestling ring.
an interesting take. I think my answer ties into the next question. I think that you maybe get another Square Enix game, or maybe you get that earlier.
That's right. We mentioned in the All-Star episode, we would have loved to seen Square Enix dip their foot in American games for us, for WWE, for WCW, for anything.
You know,
So
you put out bids for big game developers who want to get involved with the, you know, your publicly traded, you know, multi-billion-dollar company. Put some bids out there. Square Enix is going to bite. They've got a good reputation. They get in the game a little earlier, at least in the U.S. market for a wrestling game. They're already known for the success of the Final Fantasy series and other like spin-off games that they did. They have a fighting game that they made for the PlayStation 1 called Urgies, I think is the name of the game, which is essentially it's a Final Fantasy fighter.
what was the commercial that played all the time with the Square Enix?
There was a lot. They have a
Deus Ex, maybe?
Deus Ex.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Deus. Oh, they make Power Wash Simulator? Oh, I knew I liked them. I haven't played that. I played that game in real life, but I haven't played it in a while.
It's probably for Kingdom Hearts. Probably
I don't think it was.
No,
No, I'm not picturing that. I don't know. I think I'm mixing some things here. But if they made a game in the US, would it be a WWE? Would it be a WWF, WCW, ECW game? Or would they just do their own thing like an All-Star Pro Wrestling US version where they get the free agents? There's a lot of free agents at this time because two companies went under.
Hold on. I have a wild card that I would like to submit. I need 1 second. Oh, never mind.
Hey.
I was gonna say, oh, you know who you could throw in there? The people who made Ultimate Muscle, but it's Sin Sophia. It's THQ.
Yeah.
I know we like the games. Sometimes I forget why we like the games so much, and then you see that and you're reminded of that. And like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It's not THQ, it's AKI, but
it's AKI. But it's all the boxes are checked there suddenly.
Yeah. Okay, so what if the Dreamcast console thrived and continued? Would we get the SmackDown vs. Raw series?
You get Royal Rumble 2.
Dreamcast 2. I think we would have seen eventually the SmackDown series continue on there because it was very similar. Or
you get a happy Liam Davis. That's what you get.
Or happy AJ Styles. He's been talking about it too.
Happy AJ
he
Styles.
Actually got it trending because so many people were in an uproar that he said it was a great console.
I agree with him. I think that the problem, and we've said it on the podcast before, I think the problem with the Dreamcast is that it was too ahead of its time. It had a lot of features on the console that ended up being standards for a lot of the other consoles. I just don't think that that's what people wanted then.
Yeah. It was definitely ahead of its time. But I think we would have seen what we got with the Xbox and the GameCube, just maybe the Royal Rumble series continued.
Yeah, maybe Sega and the Dreamcast become an edgier competition to Sony or to Nintendo. That, you know, as time went on, kind of distanced themselves from the blood and gore in a lot of their titles because they wanted to brand themselves as more of a family friendly console system. So they started.
Very possible.
That maybe Sega takes the stand of like, hey, no, we're an affordable console that has a long-standing reputation and a a brand name that everyone knows, and we've got all the gore and violence in all your wrestling games that you've come to know and expect.
It's just a weird time. Like think of the Sega Saturn. Like you were getting the same games you were getting on like a regular Genesis mostly. Like it was just a disc. That was it. It was quicker.
You think there's So going back to a previous question, if things continue with Acclaim, you think we ever get a third arcade? With like a modern, like at a certain point, Acclaim keeps that license. Things go on, then some time passes, and they're like, "Oh, let's dip back into that nostalgia market." You think
I would honestly love nothing more than that.
You think like maybe Acclaim keeps the license like now in 2023, you get a throwback to WrestleMania the arcade game with the original roster plus like a more expansive roster of a lot of current guys?
I would love that.
Oh, or do you say that you want that and then you end up with a WrestleFest, WWE WrestleFest, and you're like, on paper this sounds like it was going to be great, but then you play it and you're just like, oh no.
That's possible because In Your House was a downgrade.
Yeah, because WWE, like original WWF WrestleFest, touted as one of the best wrestling games of all time. WWE WrestleFest, not so much.
No. I don't know. A lot to think about.
It's interesting.
But the last one I have here, what if THQ took over the TNA Impact series when WWE went to 2K? So this is a big fantasy book because WWE didn't really go to 2K. They acquired the license from THQ, which was a multi-year agreement.
I think you get a few really great TNA games.
You would have to, right?
I don't think you get the long-standing like lineage that you have with the WWE games, but I think you get 2 to 3 really, really good ones, and then there's probably some kind of budgetary constraint, and you get like an okay fourth one. That's how I see that going out.
I believe WWE had an issue with THQ making UFC games because they were so similar, and really, they did look the same.
Yeah.
So I think the style of game we got in like that era, like the UFC games, like Undisputed 3 and all that, would be what the TNA games would look like, which would be freaking awesome.
It'd be great. And
I just can't picture a TNA game in that style because. But
then you get all this. Like, do you get Ultimate X in that engine? Do you get? And then you imagine like generations later, you get like Feast or Famine,
King of the Mountain. What was that weird red dome cage they had? You remember that one?
Oh yeah. Oh, you could get what was it? Ravens.
The Steel Asylum.
The Ravens Nest. You get a Ravens Nest match.
That would be cool. The Clockwork Orange House of Fun.
That's it. Yeah. You got it there. See, that's the thing when you throw TNA into the mix with that sense, they had so many interesting concept matches that were like, you think that you know what this is going to be, and like when you describe Ultimate X, you're like, oh, that just sounds like a more complicated cage match, and then you see Ultimate X and you're like, that's super original and super super cool. And then to think that you get that, and listen, in the TNA game,
too many of them now.
But in the TNA game, Ultimate X is like,
oh yeah,
you'll play through the main part. You do a couple of regular matches, but that's your Hell in a Cell. Like you're going in to play that because that's where the chaos and the fun and the replayability and like the cool animations and the insane things that make you want to play video games happen. We need Lethal
Lockdown.
Oh man, you think the future of wrestling video games is going to have more cinematic matches, being that so many companies are doing them now?
I guess it would just be like the Bray Wyatt matches in 2K20 and 19.
Yeah,
right.
But I'm just thinking out loud about like how.
Give me a Boneyard match.
Just like so many other companies are doing them now. Like do we get like ultimate deletion
Would
and
love
things
that.
like that? Like, you know what I just learned? And and talking about cinematic matches, Swoggle pitched the cinematic match. In like,
Oh yeah. I listened to that episode.
yeah, that's
The
but
Under the Ring whatever match.
with oh my god, he it was him, cruiserweight champ, and he's going up
Chavo?
against
Jamie Noble.
Jamie Noble.
Yeah.
I was like, I could not remember his last name. I was like, Jamie. What is Jamie's last name? Jamie Noble.
Oh, that would have been great.
Would have been
Could have had
awesome.
a rainbow with a pot of gold.
But like, to think of you do something like that all the way back then, and then to think of what like small influence and like little like how that would change ideas in like video games and stuff. Like that's
Yeah. But like he said, the crowd hates watching matches.
oh yeah, but just I think maybe it would have opened up the doors for more ridiculous settings like what you get in was it 21? Or no, is it 19 with the scaffolding?
21 didn't exist.
No, 19 is scaffolding?
Scaffolding in what?
What's the mode that you play where you like throw people off of the construction area?
WrestleMania 19?
Yeah,
Revenge mode?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you get more games that have stuff like that.
Yeah. Give me more of that.
Because that's like cinematic-esque. It's got elements of that where it's just like maybe you get more stuff like that. But yeah.
I'm down.
Going back to the TNA question though, there's so many in like different styles of matches that you would get, and then they would all be in that THQ engine. It's a win-win.
Would have been on brand with them taking Jack Specific, them taking Spike TV. They took it all. They were hand-me-downs for a while.
So what year does this happen? WWE goes to 2K.
2014.
So book me a cover.
Oh God. TNA 2014. Let's look at. Oh, that was Magnus as the champion. I mean, Sting's still pretty prevalent. I mean, the Great Muto was on one of these shows.
Oh.
Not a good year. I mean, Samoa Joe's still there. Magnus, Gail Kim.
You get maybe we get Willow.
It was
on
like
the cover.
My dog. It was like Team Dixie Carter, which is like the bromans. This is like we need a rebrand. This would not have been a good THQ game. Only a year later, they changed to Impact Wrestling, and they had a little bit of a better roster, but not the good years coming up here. But hey, I like all these questions. There's so many what ifs. We're gonna do another one of these in the future. Keep them coming.
It's fun. It's just fantasy booking for a hobby, an interest that we all know and love and appreciate, and it's cool to take a couple minutes to think of other outcomes that could have been and what we might have gotten just in the world of video games. Yeah, it's crazy. But like John said, we're going to be doing more stuff like this in the future. Maybe this becomes we pepper it in with the best and worst and the video game histories of, and we throw a what if in there every now and then as well. But with that, John, are you ready to talk about this week's Soft Lock?
Yep.
In an episode full of soft locks, this very special.
I almost
soft
didn't
lock.
pick one this week, but it was a good question. So.
It's a good question. So the soft lock is a segment where one of our Patreon megamarks asks us a question. It's a question of the week. We debate, discuss, and this week comes from the superstar of the last couple of years, Gameberry, Mr. Tecker. And Tecker's question is, what is some of the worst gaming etiquette you have personally experienced? Like someone with dirty hands gunking up your personal controller, or someone looking at your screen while playing split-screen shooters like GoldenEye. Let me tell you something. That's it. It's the split-screen GoldenEye.
Every single person looks at the screen. There's no way around it. You could say you hate it, but you did it the same time.
I remember like in like the early years of the internet, you would see pictures of like people would send you pictures of like people cutting up the cardboard boxes and like building. I was just like,
whatever. You can know where I am in Halo.
Those are
try to kill me.
serious game players.
Yeah. I definitely know mine. I had a friend a while ago that would just take my games and say, I'm borrowing this, and just leave my house. So I had that. And then on the other side, my other friend, who I'm still very good friends with, I still never let him forget about this. He borrowed a bunch of games, including like the Arkham games, and he kept them for a while and then just sold them to GameStop.
Oh, no.
But this other friend I'm talking about, I remember specifically Guitar Hero on the 360. As he was leaving my house, he goes, I'm borrowing this. He just grabbed the game and the guitar and walked out.
Can't do
and
that.
It just bothered me so bad because it's like, this is the game I'm playing.
Yeah.
It just bothered me so bad that like 2 days later, I went to his house and like, I'm taking this back. And I just took it back with me.
So in the same vein, when you willingly let someone borrow a game and then they destroy the CD.
I hope I was never like that. I never borrowed games much.
Like, I feel like in the early days of PlayStation, my friends and I would like trade. Like, oh, if you ask to get this one, I'll ask to get this one. And then when you're done playing it, we'll trade. That way we both get the games, but like we're not. We'll play the smart game and not ask for like 6 games that we both want. There'll be a bunch of us that all ask for different games that we could trade.
I think I was always the one that had the games that people wanted, so they would take them.
I can't believe that. That was mind blowing to me that he just grabbed the guitar.
Yeah, he just grabbed it and walked out. And I was like, that's not gonna happen.
Damn, man. Yeah, that's that and like sticky hands on the controller. That's a good one that Tecker brought up.
Yeah,
did you have like your favorite, like your controller, like your color of N64 controller that like you're like, this is mine? When friends come over, they play with the gray controller. I've got the purple one or whatever.
We had the purple N64, the see-through one. Yep. So I had the green see-through controller that was mine. But even now on my Xbox now, I have the lime green controller that matches my stuff. And player number 2, whenever the one time there's been a player 2, gets the white controller.
You're very consistent with your green.
You know what you like.
Oh, man. Cool. That was a good question. But let us know what you think. Tecker, thank you very much for that question. But, John, would you like to let the people at home know what we are playing next week?
So I'm going to let you know the next 2 weeks.
Oh, little treat.
So next week we are playing Def Jam Fight for New York, The Takeover for the PSP. Yeah. So I think the only one we're missing is Icon, and
which
that
doesn't really
singing one
count. It's like that's
Icon counts.
That's a la Guitar Hero.
So following that, we will be doing another video game history.
Ooh. Of who?
Of Sting.
Oh shit! That's a lot.
I figure it was kind of weird to do before the before the AEW games came out because it wasn't much diversity. But then once Fight Forever came out, I saw a side-by-side Sting's first game, Sting's current game, and it was such a big gap. Got me thinking, there's the WWE games, which isn't many. WCW, there's the TNA game, there's Fight Forever, there's last week's game, GM. So it should be cool.
He's in is he just
in all of them?
He's in tag team or no WCW wrestling? Yeah, he's in.
Yep.
Man,
so it should be a good one. I'll get that together and
if you know anything about Johnny Clash, you know that he's going to hate this episode because he doesn't really like Sting all that much.
Not at all.
Definitely doesn't have an entire room behind him set up with every Sting action figure. Man. 2 weeks, 2 banger episodes. Very, very excited about it. But guys, if you want to watch the video content that John and I put out for this podcast, whether it be the video version of the podcast, the entire 2 seasons of GMP 64, where we rebooked the Attitude Era in WWF No Mercy. You can do that on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast. And you go check out the shop. We got a shop at GameMarksPod.com/shop. We have a Pro Wrestling Tees store, ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod. And you can follow along. Keep up on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. And listen, if you do none of those other things, the most important thing that you do is interact with the things that we do on this podcast. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell. There's the ding. It really does help out the podcast. It helps new listeners, new eyes find the content that we're putting, and it is free to do all of those things. And John and I would greatly appreciate that. And if you're feeling like going above and beyond, you can leave a review and a rating for this podcast on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We would appreciate 5 stars, but hey, let us know what you think of the podcast. And if you have a product or service that you would like to advertise on this podcast, you can reach out to us at GameMarksPod@gmail.com. What are you laughing at? What did I skip? What did I miss?
Nothing.
What did I do?
Keep going.
Am I going long on my outro?
Get a drink of water. Come on.
All right. Oh, I'm fumbling. Got it. That's it. That's the whole thing. I'm going to shut up. John's going to do that thing and enjoy the rest of your day, evening, whenever you're listening.
Game over, Marks. Go to bed.
I got like another 15 minutes. I could still talk.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.